Hey, this is Chad for Different Skill, and I'm bringing you a video on Link Joker. It's not gonna be a deck profile. It's just gonna be about these two fellas right here. So this is Schwarzschild Dragon, and this one is Star Vader Nebula Lord Dragon, I think. And these two guys are the new how they call the overhyped cards right now. So I'm just going to put these guys down, and first of all, for all of you who don't know what Link Joker is, it is a new clan, basically featuring a new ability called Bind. Wait, no, not Bind, Lock, my bad. What Lock does is it turns your unit upside down, a rearguard unit, so say this is my Vanguard, this would be my rearguard, it would turn it upside down. This unit is considered no longer on the field, so if you have something like Alfred, it would not receive the bonus 2000 for bonus 2000 for being a Royal Paladin, yes. And a unit that is locked cannot move its position, and it cannot be played over. So essentially you have a dead unit here for until the end of its controller's turn. So that effectively, if you can lock things in the front, it would make it so that they don't get to attack with this row, because the card in the back can't attack nothing. So moving on, what these two guys do if you don't know. Okay, Star Vader Nebula Lord Dragon. His effect is limit break 4. All your units in your front row, like your front row here, gain plus 3000 for each locked unit your opponent controls. So pretty powerful stuff. So it gives itself plus 3000, and then the two guys in front of it plus 3000, effectively turning everything into Palamides. But moving on, counterboss 2, I keep saying bind. Lock a unit in one unit in the back row. So so basically Vader only targets the guys in the back, which would be too OP if he could target things in the front, because that would just be kind of silly. So moving on, and he has the normal Lord ability, where if there are cards of other clans on your field, this card cannot attack. So this card is very powerful on its own, and with all the synergy in the deck, Link Joker hits super high numbers like 20 something, 30 something in the rear guards pretty easily, but it does require them to overextend a little bit. But in that sense, since they're locking down all your guys, they're relatively safe to a counterattack, so which makes this clan very powerful. One of the things that people were saying is that, oh, this clan is broken, it's going to change the game, it's only going to be Link Joker versus Link Joker, no one's going to play anything else, and whatnot. But that is not true, because you know, I've done a bit of testing myself with some peoples, and I found out that playing Link Joker is actually kinda, you really have to know when you want to go in and when you want to hold back, because once you basically your deck is a bunch of vanillas when you're out of counterblast, which is a really bad big downside. But if you kinda hold out and sandbag a bit, it becomes a much tougher fight. So that's Nebula Lord Dragon. Now the next card is the card that's really hard to identify what is happening here. If you guys can see, this is a head, and I believe there are a bunch of arms. There's like 4 arms and a ball. So I don't know. It's really hard to identify on the card, even looking at it up close. Anyways, so this guy is a 10k, and he's a ride chain. So his last ability is plus 1000 if the grade 2 is in effect in the soul or whatever. When this card appears on the Vanguard zone, or you ride it, when you ride this card, you may counterblast 1, look at the top 5 cards for a copy of himself, and add it to your hand. Limit break 4, counterblast 3, counterblast 3, Persona Blast. So they're bringing back the Persona Blast mechanic, which is kind of cool. Even though I think it wasn't present in the past two sets, I believe. But anywho. Persona Blast, this unit gains plus 10k plus 1 crit, similar to Phantom Blaster Overlord. However, you may select 3 units on the field and lock them. So what this essentially means is that they will lock this one, and this one, making it so that you have one attack next turn, and it's going to be your Vanguard only, and no booster intact. This is a crippling ability that if they don't win on that turn, they have probably gained a ton of advantage off of that straight up. But if you do manage to survive, you will be, in kind of a bit of trouble when you're playing this deck, because if you don't kill them, you're basically forced to hit like what 10k, 10k, 10k. Like you go like 16, 19 at best, and then it's like 12 or like 15 or 16, because most of your abilities rely on units being locked. So like in the whole deck as a whole. So once you run into counterblast for this, it's kind of hard to actually do anything anymore. So this deck I would say is much more fragile than this deck, the Star Vader Nebula Lord deck. But I do prefer Schwarzschild better. Schwarzschild Dragon better because of just its explosive impacts. You can just go like you're supposed to play this with a Break Ride. You ride this over the Break Ride, you lock 2 guys, and the Break Ride is lock 1 guy in the front, 1 guy in the back. Pretty good, effectively crippling 2 rows, and then you attack and you do stuff, and then like 4-ish or 4 or 5, you like just crank out the Persona Blast, and if you can, that is. That's another issue, is that it is a Persona Blast, and with a deck that has like no filtering at all, you really do have to rely on drawing it. Unlike something like The End, where you can just go Conroe, Aramo, tutor, and then tutor just the 2 guys, and then cycle until you find it. It's much harder for this, but drawing another copy of it is actually not terribly difficult. So yeah, these are the 2 guys that are the main enemies of this format, which people are thinking that, oh, these 2 cards are in the game. Now, what I have figured out, which should be really just common sense for most people, is that there's a few people or cards in this game that can combat these pretty easily. The first is, of course, my favorite, the one-man army himself, Dauntless Drive, and another grade 3. So in this case, I have Overlord the End. Overlord the End will not stand a chance by himself, like against these guys. Overlord the End is actually not good enough because by himself he doesn't actually do much, so he can't actually stand up to these guys. So sorry, buddy, but you're not the best here. But the main star of the show here is Dauntless Drive Dragon, which him in itself, if you just go Dauntless, you probably win the game. Because Dauntless Drive Dragon is the one-man army himself, which I like to refer to this as a Vanguard that can restand itself and attack again. I refer to it as a one-man army because it has like enough power to basically shift the tide of having no boosters and no attackers. Similar, like the example of Schwarzschild Dragon blocking your 2 front row and 1 other back row. Dauntless will be able to hit him properly by himself for 21 and then 21 again. Effectively, at least needing 4 cards, which would be 2 perfect cards and 2 other cards. But if you're lucky and they only maybe have 1 perfect guard, you have to take like a perfect guard, something else, and 10k, 10k, and maybe more if you get triggers. So something like Dauntless Drive Dragon is very good against these guys, and especially because of the new tech that I'm playing. I'll have a different deck video on that later, but for now I will just say my tech. Not really tech, because Card Otaku did this before. He was talking to me about it, and then I came back and I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool, I guess, and I decided to try it myself. Big shout out to Card Otaku, one of my bestest friends, I guess, from overseas. I don't know. But anywho, so this guy, very powerful. One of the reasons that I did not just go, well, screw Vanguard again, is because I have Dauntless to back me up, so I'm not actually afraid of this threat. Another bunch of cards that I have that I'm not tested with because I don't have them yet is Spike Brothers. I believe Spike Brothers will be really good in this format because you can't lock what is not present. So, okay, you can lock the 2 guys in the back, okay, whatever. I still have like Dead End Dragger into Dead End Dragger and attack with things and big, or Dead End Dragger into something else, attack with things, they're big, all these things that make your Vanguards or your basically single cards when they attack for big numbers is what will beat Link Joker. So, moving on, the next card I have is Dragonic Descendant, Eradicator Dragonic Descendant. another one of the one-man army series. He's probably one of your better choices, as now he is, even though he is limited to 2 per deck. His ability, for all of you who don't know, is when this card's attack does not hit, you may counterblast 1, discard 3 cards, restand it, and it gains a critical. And you can counterblast 2 Eradicator units to give it plus 5,000. That ability is kinda irrelevant, but in this matchup it might be if you had like a bad game and you couldn't use all your counterblast to like retire all of their units, because generally that is what happens. You go Gauntlet Buster, you like make them sack their units, and then he gets big, you attack, they lose cards, you ride this guy over to finish. But overall, still a very powerful card, and he's another great contender for this format. So I would say that Eradicators is still in this, even with their their nerfs, I guess. But with the new reverse Vowing Sword Dragon, I think that they're doing pretty well. I mean, that reverse card is pretty good. So he is the next up. Next we have is the old Spectral Duke Dragon, but of course he cannot be by himself. He needs something like Gancelot, Liberator Gancelot, or the other one that gets you 2 extra guys. Basically, he needs a break ride with him. I don't have that card, unfortunately, to show you guys, but Spectral Duke Dragon is another one of these one-man armies. At the end of his attack step, you may retire 3 units and then restand him, and he attacks, but he loses Twin Drive. The problem is he does lose Twin Drive, but with the added bonus of like the plus 10k from a Gancelot or something, that's not as relevant, but it is still would be better if they were like these 2 guys and did not lose his Twin Drive. So very good still, but not in the classic Spectral Duke, get a lot of guys, hit for low numbers, but have a lot of things, because that doesn't actually work very well. So, and lastly we have, of course, everyone's favorite Shadow Paladin, and my favorite character who uses this. Yes, Ren is still pretty fucking hot. Raging Form Dragon. So for those of you who do not know what Raging Form Dragon does, is Limit Break 4. At the end of this attack, at the close of the attack step of this unit, you may retire 3 rear guards and ride a copy of Raging Form Dragon from your hand. That unit gains plus 10k. It's a different way to approach the restand my Vanguard. The problem of this is you cannot add the power of any triggers back onto your Raging Form, like your first one. So if you attack the first time, you get like double critical or something in the perfect guard. You stack it all in your Vanguard, you have to re-ride it, so it doesn't actually pass through to the second Raging Form. Although you do get the plus 10,000, it is still kind of because in worst case scenario, you won't have against like Schwarzschild Dragon, right? You won't have front row to add power to, so this would actually be maybe one of the weaker ones, and it is a Persona Blast-esque effect. So I would unfortunately say that Raging Form Dragon is in the bottom of our list because of how unstable he is. He's not actually guaranteed to get his effect off, unlike these 3 guys, which are basically just if you have 1 card in your hand. Like Dauntless and Descendant basically say if you have 1 card in your hand, you may withstand this card, because if you have 1 card in your hand, you Twin Drive, that's 3, discard all 3, there you go, right? But Spectral, that's why I would say that the first place would go to either Dauntless or Dragonic Descendant, followed by Spectral Duke, then Raging Form. Spike Brothers, I'm not sure how they will fare. I think it'd be just the same kind of if I get my nut draw you're dead kind of thing. But basically this will wrap up my video, and as always guys, thank you for watching. I know I don't ever say that, but thank you for watching, and I will get back to you guys with my Dragonic Overlord at the end deck profile, and then sooner or later I will have a re-update for my new Kagero deck. Giving you a hint on what it is. Alright, see you guys later. Bye.